Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Webinar Wednesday series. We are so excited to have you join us for our second week of our 1UA track this spring, and we are super excited to have a very special guest with us today. As a reminder, I am Allison Beasley. I'm our coordinator of parent and family programs here at the university, and we are so excited to have our wonderful Vice President of the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Dr. G. Christine Taylor, here with us. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this conversation with her today, and just for parents and family members to learn a little bit more about Dr. Taylor and the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. So I'm going to let Dr. Taylor introduce herself and just give you a little bit of background on her and how she came to be at the division, and then we'll ask a few questions.
Well, hello to the moms and dads and parents and guardians. I'm so glad. And Allison, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's an exciting time, like it always is at Alabama. As you might imagine, though, that we're in the midst of a lot of events this semester, starting off with our Martin Luther King Day celebration. Now we're into Black History Month, and the next month is Women's History Month. And when you come back to visit us at campus, you've got to stop by our newly designed and laid out Interdiversity Cultural Center. It's a lovely space, and we're finding increasingly that students are coming there and being engaged and having a good time and doing a lot of what I call passive learning, which I think is really great. That I just learn about different things by the displays and all that we have there. Currently, we have the Sankofa exhibit in, and you might want to prompt your son or daughter to take a look at that. It's chronicling the experiences of African Americans since the transatlantic slave trade into the current day. So it's some real artifacts there that I think that folks will enjoy learning about and learning more of. But your question to me was, I think, about how I got to Alabama. Is that what we were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, interestingly, higher ed is my second career. My first career was in broadcasting. And when I went back to do a master's and then decided to stay on for a PhD, I got really fascinated about this point in young people's lives and the way that you can help them learn and grow. And I had that experience continuously because that's part of how I made it through graduate school in terms of my grad work. And so it was there that I really began to take a deep dive into issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, if my mom were here, she said to me, "You've been planning for this job your entire life." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Well, because I was one of those kids who integrated her first grade. Me and four other Black kids integrated my elementary school in Tennessee many, many years ago. And so I've spent the bulk of my career being the first and or only.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have taken away from that is, while you may have policies, you may have laws, you may have regulations, it is the people who make all the difference in what an experience is going to be like for a young man or woman. And so I've just been excited about the opportunities that I've been able to provide working at institutions in Ohio. Then right before coming here, I was at Purdue in West Lafayette. So I'm excited to be here at Alabama. It brings me back home to the South.
Well, that's wonderful. I did not know that you had a broadcast background. It makes
Yes,
sense for how wonderful
yes,
of a presenter you are.
yes. Thank
Um, but Dr. Taylor, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of in our theme of 1UA, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a very bird's eye overview of the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and your kind of goals of making 1UA.
Sure. In a very important move strategically, when we did our strategic plan, I wasn't here then, but they identified the third goal in our overall campus strategic plan really was about building a campus in which, this is my language, I'm not quoting the goal, but it essentially meant that it was a campus that was going to be welcoming to everybody, faculty, staff, and students, regardless of the difference or the dimension of diversity that might be yours, but that you would come here and find a way, this is my language, to thrive and not merely survive. And that really is the energy behind 1UA, that once you come and become a part of this community, whether you're a student, whether you're a faculty member or a staff member, you're part of 1UA, that we really are a family. And as a campus community, we talk a lot about that. And clearly when we go to Bryant-Denny, hey, we're all about that.
Right.
And so the idea is that outside of Bryant-Denny, in every aspect of the campus experience, that we're talking about 1UA.
I love that. So is there anything in your own words and in your own definition, what would you say that it means to be one UA?
Well, it's been interesting since I've come here to work, and whenever I travel, I'm amazed at all the Alabama shirts that I see. It's like when you buy a car and suddenly you notice everybody's got your car.
Yes.
So once I started wearing Alabama gear, you see it everywhere. And so there is inherently a sense of family and community just by definition of those who love the institution. And so for me, you're tying into something bigger than you. And our quest through your division, through my division, is to say, let's make that experience that we're building stronger, better, more engaging, no matter who you are or where you come from. And I think one of the strengths for our campus is that we have students from every state. We have students from more than 30 some countries around the world. And I constantly tell our young people, you need to make it your business to maximize on being at a residential campus by making sure that you have a chance to interact with, have conversations with people that are nothing like you. That's where the real growth happens in a residential environment like this.
Absolutely. I think that's one of my favorite things since I have been a member of the UA community for over 10 years. When I was a student, my entering freshman class was about half and half in state, out of state. And that's one of the things that I've been really interested to see grow with our out of state population, and to hear our orientation leaders talk about, well, I have friends from everywhere. And if I go wherever, I know someone. They talk about
Right,
what a
right.
small world it is with Alabama.
Absolutely, 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 absolutely.
So tell me how, and this is a very broad question.
Sure.
So, and it is kind of what y'all do. So tell me how the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion supports the goal of one UA.
Well, there's 4 strategic goals that we do, but essentially, let me say that our primary work is to advise others about how they want to accomplish their goals. So the larger goals are: one, what can we do to increase the diversity of our undergraduate and graduate student body, retain them and graduate them? What can we do to increase the diversity of our faculty, which is important for all students,
Right.
and our staff? What can we do to make sure that our campus is one that is a welcoming campus, that you come and you feel like, yeah, I can work, I can do it? And a piece that's really important for our graduating students, as well as faculty and staff, is what can we do to make sure that everyone who attends the institution, who graduates from the institution, has the capacity to work effectively in an increasingly diverse and global environment. We know that's what's happening. And so we want to make sure that our students, when they leave here, they're able to work, whether they're working in a multinational environment or whether there's lots of people that are different, because of the quality of the experiences that we dealt with him here. And so this idea of developing cultural competencies for our faculty, staff, and students is critical. And let me just make a caveat here. Being nice is not always competent. Because sometimes we think we're being competent while we're being nice, but it isn't always that way. So we want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to help people understand that some people approach the world very differently than you did. They see things very differently than you did, and that we can't use our way of seeing the world as the only way to see it, but we have to, in fact, acknowledge that we can all be in the same place, same time, see the same thing, but take very different meaning away from it. And that's an important part of building a sense of cultural competencies.
Wow, I love that. I was reminded of the time that I actually attended an event. Y'all, the division brought in a guest speaker about microaggressions, and I attended a half-day seminar. And that's one of those things where, as you said, being kind is not always competent. You think that you're saying something and it means something completely different to someone else. So
yes, yes.
I can't give enough shameless plugs for the events that y'all host and the guest speakers that you bring in. Do you want to just give a shameless plug for some of your events coming up? And I say your events, it's the division and so many different campus partnerships that y'all have coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I like to always operate with a spirit of gratitude. I've got a great team that I'm working with. Miss Chrysandra Smothers, Miss Ocelia Lewis, Miss Latoya Scott. and our outstanding students that are working both in the Safe Zone Center as well as the Intercultural Diversity Center, who help pull a lot of wonderful things off. So let me give a couple of plugs about some things that are coming up. In the library this month, they're doing a display about African American cookbooks in celebration of Black History Month. So we've got a couple of chefs that are going to be cooking. So we've got a celebrity chef that's going to cook. And I think for the first number of students that sign up, they get the ingredients, but the ingredients will be online nevertheless. So you can cook along with the chef. It's something that's going to be, I think they're cooking for a family of four. So they could be, you could invite folks to your house as long as you're socially distanced.
Right.
Got a mask on, wash your hands, but it's going to be a virtual experience. Mm-hmm. And so we're excited about that. Then we also have a local celebrity chef, Dean Jones. Stacy Jones is going to be cooking, and anybody who's had her cakes, it's a life transforming experience. You don't want to miss that. We also, as I mentioned before, the Sankofa exhibit is currently happening in the IDC. There are a number of programs that our students have done. And at the end of the month, with our sister campuses in the system, that would be University of Alabama, Birmingham, and the University of Alabama, Huntsville, we're going to be having our Black History Month speaker, who is Isabel Wilkerson. I have her book here behind me, which is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. It's a great book. Just for context, it was one of Oprah's Book of the Month reads. But it's a wonderful way of getting into the conversation about understanding where we are and how we are. Now, our campus is also doing a book read. So we have about 10 or 12 faculty and staff who are going to lead conversations. We will not get this book read before she speaks. Let me be very clear about that. But we had a book, we call it the Good Trouble book read that we began this summer.
Love that.
So the Good Trouble book read this time is going to feature this book, Caste. And we've got, we'll be sending out the notification next week, again, reminding people to sign up. And so the groups will meet and read at their own pace until they get through with the book. And then we'll have a campus conversation at some later point to talk about what were our main takeaways from the book read. There are films that are happening on the campus. And again, what I've been really excited about is the virtual nature and how we've been able to have really good attendance. We've had some really good workshops on how to be an ally. And these are happening by and large for our students on Monday evenings at 6, Monday or Tuesday, I've gotten confused. And then Thursdays for faculty and staff. We just did one last week on pre-coping because a lot of people are experiencing a lot of pressure just with COVID and wanting to get back to how they used to do things, but recognizing we've got to stay safe. We've got to stay safe. And so we talked about strategies for dealing with that. And that's so very important that you have strategies. We work collaboratively with our counseling department, and they've come on and talked about, what do I do? And we've had really good participation and really good questions, because some people have really not acknowledged that there's a lot stacking on top of us. You know, I usually, because of the Iron Bowl, I host Thanksgiving every year. So all the Taylor clan comes to my house to Alabama because they know I'm gonna be at that game, you know, on Saturday. But we weren't able to do that this year because of COVID. So I'm out of cycle with that sort of thing. So there are things that you miss, and so you want to make sure that as you're having to adapt, that you're also adapting some other self-care measures. So if I want to encourage those that are listening today to visit our website. And it's diversity.ua.edu. And that will give you a plethora of knowledge about things that are upcoming. And we have a couple of really exciting things happening in March as well for Women's History Month. So I just encourage people to get involved. And if you're coming back to campus, make sure you stop by the IDC. We had a lovely opening on that this fall, and our students are excited. And you know, one of the things that was interesting in the fall, because a lot of people couldn't go to the stadium, they would have some watch parties there. And so you could register if you were, you know, reserve a seat. And they were telling me, we're thinking about trying to figure out how to do box seats. I said, no, let's just do regular seats, you know, but it's a fun incentive. So we're always looking for ways to encourage intentional engagement with others. intentional learning about diversity, equity, inclusion, and also finding ways just to have conversation and be engaged, because that's all a part of building an inclusive campus community. That's an important part of it.
Absolutely. I love that book club named after obviously the late John Lewis.
Exactly.
I think that's
The
absolutely.
Trouble Book Read. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
gonna have to look into that for myself.
Yes. Yes.
I actually had the honor of getting to hear John Lewis when he spoke at the Blackburn Symposium a couple years ago. So I
Yeah.
really, uh, so I guess my last question, well, my second to last question is, I think maybe what's one thing you're proudest of since you have come on? You've only been here for a few years now. It feels like much longer because you've had such an impact, and with the division, what's kind of your proudest accomplishment in your time here so far? And I say so far because you're not going anywhere. We're not letting you go anytime.
Oh, I would say when people say things like, I saw this on your website, or when people outside of our community say, we're trolling your website because we know there's great stuff. You know, we had a speaker here, and we had a voicemail on our phone in the office that said, I'm calling from London, England. You had this workshop, and I signed up, and I'm so glad to have had an opportunity to participate. Not, and I'm saying that not because she was from London, but because she was, that we've been able, even though we're all in COVID, we all had to do things differently, but to pick up this virtual piece and make it work in a beautiful way. And probably, if I were going to think about one thing I'm so impressed about, was when we did the virtual event acknowledging after the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, our virtual event that we had, because there were Alabama faculty, staff, and students, diverse, who wanted to be a part of that vigil. And we had to do it virtually because that was right when we were beginning with COVID. And how people use their little technology. They would record things on their cell phone and send it in to us. And we produced a very moving event that talked about how George Floyd was not a single event, but really had been part of a cumulative process that's gone really since 1619. And so I was so excited that we had faculty, staff, and students who wanted to be involved and who got involved virtually and who gave of themselves to be a part of that. Proud of our football team, all that they did, and for the work that I do. When others pick it up and it becomes part of the way they approach life, how they approach being at the University of Alabama, how they say, "Wow, wait a minute, that's not how, that's quote not how we roll here. We don't say things like that." Those are my proudest moments, because the work that I do is never accomplished singularly.
Mhm.
It really has to be done throughout all the members of the campus community. And so whenever I get evidence that we're making that kind of impact, those are my happiest moments.
I absolutely love that. My last question was going to be, how would you encourage parents and family members to encourage their students to get involved? But I think that I would like to just encourage them to go to your website and check out those lists of events that are always being updated and always adding more events. I know that we have some great campus partners who y'all have partnered with this month to keep this an ongoing conversation, and it's not just for Black History Month. It's not just
Oh,
months of the year. Absolutely not.
yes. And I would say that one of the beauties of what we're doing is that we try to have a major commemorative event for each of our commemorative months. So parents, if you didn't know, Hispanic Awareness Month is August into September. LGBTQ Awareness Month is in October. Native American Awareness Month is in November. Then we're usually out in December. January is MLK. February is Black History. March is Women's History. And we have generally done a Holocaust Remembrance event in April. And so that's where we are now. So we're working toward always having a major event. But I've been really pleased with the number of other organizations and students and groups and academic departments that are also doing things to supplement that. So parents, this is one of the reasons I would encourage you to encourage your students. Um, a number of years ago, I did a workshop with some recruiters, and there were some pretty substantial companies that were at this event. And I asked the recruiters, does diversity, equity, and inclusion make a difference for you? And one of the contributors, or recruiters rather, from a fairly big organization said this to the students that were there. He said, we're probably going to hire many of you because we know about your curriculum, we know the quality of your education. But this is why diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. Your ability to move up in an organization, in our organizations, are going to be in part tied to how well you work with people that are different than you. Will you get in the door? Yeah, probably. But your ability for upward mobility, and that's what most folks want, is tied directly to how well we can send you to another country, send you to a team that's very diverse, and you work productively with them. And so this is that's part of the brilliance of being in a residential environment. You have a chance to start building those relationships in the CAF, at a program, in class. But I tell students all the time, if you come here and leave and you've not come out of your bubble, I'm not talking about the COVID bubble, but I'm talking about your bubble in terms of people that are just like you, you're missing the beauty and the magic of being in a residential environment. From my experience, I have friends all over the world because of it being a residential campus. And I remember when we did our first little piece that we do for students to get them acclimated about diversity, equity, and inclusion. A student talked about meeting some Japanese students. She was an American student on the green, and they were talking about automobiles or something, but they concluded this conversation. They were out there in the quad. They concluded the conversation that the Japanese students had never been to Waffle House. And they were like, you cannot be here and not go to Waffle House. And so they went to Waffle House, and the student said, I just never would have imagined that I would have had this wonderful cultural experience in Tuscaloosa that concluded at the Waffle House. So there's all kinds of ways to learn from, with, and about each other. And that's what we want our students to do, learn from, with, and about each other, so that they'll be ready to take on what we know is going to be an increasingly diverse and global society in which they're going to live and work.
Absolutely. Dr. Taylor, I can't thank you enough for speaking with parents and family members as part of our One UA series. I personally think that you absolutely embody what it means to be One UA, and for this partnership especially. We are just so grateful for the work that your whole team does. I know that it's not one single person, it's not even two single people, it's a whole bunch of people working together.
Yes. And working collaboratively.
So parents and families, please be sure to check out the list of events that are always ongoing on diversity.ua.edu. Encourage your student to attend those events. I know that there's a lot of those events that are open to the public, so check those out and see if there's something that you're interested in learning more about, and please encourage your student to get involved. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to our office, parents@ua.edu. Give us a call, 1-800-392-2777. And we look forward to seeing you again next week as part of our continuing One UA series. And just another big thank you so much to Dr. Taylor for being here with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. And parents, thank you for entrusting your young people to us. Come and visit soon.
That's right. And as always, roll tide.
Roll Tide. Bye-bye.